It's not any kind of consensus I'm familiar with. I've used consensus a lot in different organizations, with faith groups, with progressive groups, and the basis of consensus is that it's a heartfelt agreement. And if you can stand aside, if you don't agree and you can live with the outcome, then you stand aside. And if you can't live with it, you block it. Occasionally, once in a while, you do have to block something, right? Otherwise, you don't have consensus. It's just an exercise in saying yes. It's like the old Soviet elections. Everyone agrees. Everyone in favor of Comrade Stalin, raise your hand. That's not consensus. That's a false consensus. If, on the other hand, you had a secret ballot, if you treated these representatives as children, okay, put your head on your desk and raise your hand now, then you might actually, if you had an anonymous vote, get a real test of whether there's true consensus here or not. I think what the UNGASS has displayed is that the fundamental breakdown of this false consensus. All the speeches from the countries in Latin America, Western Europe, a lot of other countries, in Australia and New Zealand, people are dissenting on issues like the death penalty, on harm reduction, and they're basically saying they absolutely disagree with this and that it should be in the outcome document. And whatever happens, I think we've shattered this idea that there's a global consensus around the war on drugs, and we're headed in two different worlds now. Unfortunately, there are people living in the regressive states who are humans, and they deserve basic rights, and they're being trampled upon. And while on the one hand it's great that we're going to have more liberalized drug policies in parts of the world, it's unfortunate that the other parts of the world, these rights don't apply. I think there's a lot of benefit to that, because you can't go on with this farce where governments come together and slap each other in the back and give laudatory speeches, and it's a bunch of I don't know. It's been very frustrating getting any truth out of this process. Speaking honestly, speaking frankly about these issues. These are all platitudes and bromides, basically, with the occasional dissent. So I think in the run-up to 2019, the next time they're going to deal with this issue, I think it's going to be very clear that the world is moving apart much faster than continental drift, which had been the pace of change up until now, up until recently. But the change is happening very, very rapidly. I've been working on this issue since the 1998 UNGASS, and I've seen more change in the past 3 or 4 years than I have in the previous 15 years combined. So the velocity of change is happening very, very quickly. I think all these other member states from the regressive parts of the world are hearing loud and clear from all the protests here, all the social media, the overwhelming representation here from civil society from all over the world opposing the war on drugs, that their days are numbered in terms of how much longer they can get away with this. These are repressive governments for the most part. It's a rogues list of nations that most people wouldn't want to live in, with very unrepresentative governments. And those are the ones who are primarily holding out and insisting that only the tough line approach should be taken.